All right, so now we have some breaking news. Breaking news. And this is huge. And I'm going to go ahead and hit you in the face with it, and we're going to talk about why this is so important. Kyle Rittenhouse won't face charges for gun offense in Illinois. So, Rittenhouse was arrested. He wasn't arrested. He turned himself in. They keep saying that he was. They keep telling the story like the cops had to go and track him down and kick down his door. No, he tried to turn himself in the night that the thing happened, and the cops couldn't deal with him because
there was a riot.
What was it? Oh, there was a riot! They were in the middle of a damn riot. You know, they don't have time to worry about a couple of pedophiles that are bleeding out because they attempted to murder a young patriot.
Yeah, and how bad of a riot is it where somebody walks up to you and says, I just killed a man, and the cops are like, I ain't got time for your bullshit.
I just killed 2 men, and the cops have to say, I ain't got time for you, kid. And so he went home and went to bed, and the next day he went and turned himself in. Right? He was then incarcerated in Illinois, and his lawyers are filing against extradition filings where Kenosha, damn it, what state is it? Kenosha, is it Wisconsin? Kenosha, Wisconsin. Yeah, Kenosha, Wisconsin. So Kenosha, Wisconsin is filing extradition to try and get Rittenhouse sent over to them. Right? Well, the investigation has apparently proved that the firearm he was carrying was not carried over state lines. And the lefties wanted to make a huge deal out of the idea that he was carrying a firearm over state lines. Let's be clear. In most states, now, double check, read up before you make a mistake. You know, like if I wanted to go from Georgia to Maine with my gun, I can be in Georgia with my gun, I can be in Maine with my gun, but New York might get a little hinky, right? You know, because it's full of communists. But,
Quomunists?
Yeah, quomunists. So, they wanted to make a big deal about, he carried a weapon over state lines. That's not, but anyway. The investigation determined, right here, a statement from Lake County State's Attorney's Office said an Antioch police investigation determined the firearm used in the Kenosha shooting was purchased and stored in Wisconsin. I don't know what the details on that are, and frankly, I don't care. The statement, it was purchased and stored in Wisconsin, is sufficient. If the investigation has determined that the weapon was never in Illinois, then whether or not the question of his carrying it over state lines is a significant question suddenly means that its significance, no matter what degree that significance takes, is irrelevant because the evidence in the investigation shows that that's not what happened. Now, this is a big deal because he is still in Illinois, and his lawyers, his attorneys, are filing to prevent his extradition to Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, it's looking like he's probably going to not be dealing with, he's probably going to be okay on the murder charges, and they're probably going to still try to go after him on the misdemeanor for carrying the firearm. But there's another huge development that paints a new picture for that. Scoop, man who fired first shots behind Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, has been arrested. So, a big part of the original narrative was this white supremacist just murdered a Black Lives Matter protester because he's a supremacist. And, wait, no. Almost immediately, we learned that before Rittenhouse fired the first shot, someone else did some shooting. Here's a still from some of the video. This is from before Rittenhouse shot Rosenbaum, right? Here's Rittenhouse. The lunging man here, it says lunging man. Um, I, I, that's, I don't think that's Rosenbaum yet. But these guys here, these guys are part of a group called the Riot Crew or the Riot Squad. They're basically journalists, independent journalists that are going to riots. One of them did a solid interview on Tim Pool the other day where he talked about what happened here. And part of what happened here, as you can see from this still, involves a muzzle flash before Rosenbaum tried to steal Rittenhouse's weapon. Another big part of that math. If someone reaches for a weapon, for a firearm, and that's a firearm, which is to say if they reach for their own firearm, like they try to pull it off their hip, or they reach and try to grab your firearm, the statutes are pretty clear that those are essentially the same, those essentially justify the same level of concern for your own safety and justify the use of lethal force in self-defense. Now, obviously that gets a little fuzzy from state to state. Some states are, American and some states are communists. So there are states where you are an American citizen with the rights and freedoms that are guaranteed by the Constitution, not to be restricted against you by a tyrannical government. And then, there's New York and California.
There are states where you have a duty to retreat. Which, the hell with that. But, while I was on my hiatus, I remember when you did the show, and we talked about it beforehand, Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. Boy, that video aged like fine wine, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Now, minor correction. The title of that video was, in fact, Kyle Rittenhouse did one thing wrong. And I did spend some time in that video talking about the question of whether or not he is legally permitted to carry that firearm. Now, there is no question that he is constitutionally permitted to carry that firearm. It is incontrovertibly the case that if the law says he is not allowed to own that firearm, then it is the law which is in error. It is the law which is in violation of the Constitution. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that every signatory and enforcement agent who subscribes to the use, enforcement, and retention of that law should be treated as someone who has broken their oath to uphold and serve the Constitution. Yes, that includes all of the police officers that might enforce that law. If they choose to enforce that law, they are in clear violation of their oath of office.
Yeah, man, the ATF is one of those agencies where if I could wave a magic wand, poof.
I'd put them right next to the school board.
Bye-bye. No, night. I mean, God, this is such a win, though. I can't help it. I'm looking forward to the salt that I'm going to see on Facebook and Twitter later today.
So much salt. And guys, it's only Wednesday, but I'm going to go ahead and drop this one premature for Kyle. That's
so much sack. He protect, he attack. This no more homo erotic rocket ranches. Got it? Got it. Oh jeez. So much wang.
yeah. So we're gonna give tomorrow morning's show to Kyle. I don't know how. We'll keep an eye out for developments. Hopefully there will be greater developments in this story, and we can give Kyle a second total win Thursday. But that's hard to argue with. This is a huge win for Kyle. Now, it's not technically a total win. He's still facing some charges. But
you have failed.
I definitely wanted it. No, they called twice. So And that was an unknown number sales call too. So that's a pernicious son of a bitch that thought he was going to punch through my do not disturb, and has been denied. Anyway, I think that's all I've got on it for now. Is there anything else you wanted to dive into there, Cameroon?
Just want to hammer home the point that you were making, that it means that it's now part of the record that somebody else fired first. That is so huge.
Yes, the fact that someone else fired the first. Okay, and let's talk about that for just a second. The fact that somebody else fired the first shot means that the narrative is shattered. It means that Kyle Rittenhouse was, as far as his math on the ground is concerned, what happened is, while a bunch of violent, angry people who just tried to blow him up by shoving a flaming dumpster into the gas station where he was standing, they tried to murder him with a dumpster fire into a gas station, which he averted. Jesus Christ. Which he averted by dousing the fire with a fire extinguisher. And then they all attempted to murder him with blunt force. And while he was in the process of attempting to evade blunt force by murder by blunt force, someone fired a gun near him. And I promise you, if there are a bunch of people attempting to murder me with baseball bats and skateboards, and I hear a gunshot, as far as I'm concerned, we are in an open shooting war now. And all your lives are forfeit.
Yeah, I mean, it takes that whole primary aggressor thing right off the table.
And to that, let me just, before Joshua Zeminski is his name, a 35-year-old. So this isn't a kid. This is a grown-ass man. He's been charged with disorderly conduct. Wow.
It's still better than nothing.
Charged with disorderly conduct. Let's be very clear about what happened here. According to his own statements, let's see if it's got the quote here. Mr. Rittenhouse turns toward the sound of gunfire and another pursuer lunges toward him from the same... No. Okay, the police go on to report that when speaking to Zeminski and his wife, who was present at the time, both admitted that he had fired off a warning shot into the air.
I guess Kyle took it as a warning.
If you were ever going to convince me that we need gun control in this country, the argument that you're going to have to lead with is, no, Chris, you don't understand. The Democrats are allowed to have guns too. And then I'm going to have to think about it real hard and say, ooh, you're right.
And I realize
those people are fucking stupid and dangerous, aren't they?
And look, I realize it's not Firearms Friday, but, quick safety brief. No warning shots. Jesus, no. Like this.
When you have to draw your weapon, if you must draw your weapon, you are not drawing it to make a display. If the presentation of your weapon diffuses the situation and your attacker flees, leaving you safe, wonderful. You can put your weapon away and call the police and go ahead and get the situation resolved. But the purpose to drawing your weapon is to eliminate the threat.
Yeah, plain and simple.
A wounded man can still fire a weapon. The objective is to eliminate the threat. When you draw your weapon and you fire a warning shot, you might as well just point it straight forward and close your eyes.
Yep.
No warning shots.
Yeah, no warning shots.
Stunning idiot.
But yeah, that's all I got. I gotta go back to work.
All right, boys. Good to see you. Thanks for chiming in. Glad to see you guys in the chat there, Steve, Krista. I guess we lost Lindsay, but love you guys, and we'll see you soon. Be safe out there, and check us out tomorrow morning.